Thank you guys for coming to our first town hall. And thank you specifically to everyone who allowed us to cancel the 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. classes. I know your fitness is important to you and your time is valuable. So I'll try to make this as valuable as possible for you guys. Cool? Awesome. Like, we're not like a LA Fitness where you walk in, you do a couple bench press sets, you take a selfie, and then you walk out. Or like a cycling studio where you might just get a little sweat, take a selfie, and then walk out. CrossFit's unique, where you guys pay a lot of money to get your asses kicked on a daily basis, right? It's unique to CrossFit. But it's also unique to martial arts as well, right? So I like to think of CrossFit, a CrossFit box is more like a dojo. Is anyone familiar with like 90s American karate craze that was going on?
Cobra Kai.
Yeah, Cobra Kai. Has anyone seen Cobra Kai? So in the 90s, if you did karate, you were a part of a dojo and that was your family. Like, you were proud to be a part of that specific dojo, and that was important to you and important to everyone involved. I like to think of CrossFit to be very similar. I've met some of my best friends in a CrossFit gym. I spend a lot of time with you guys here. No, it was so impactful in my life that I decided to become a coach. So it's very unique and very special to me. I joined the CrossFit Exalted team about 2.5 years ago, and this has become my second home. This is where I found my tribe being you guys. So what we're going to introduce today, I'm actually going to start off with our mission statement. Our mission statement is to provide exceptional coaching, deliver measurable results, and cultivate a community-focused environment that fosters physical freedom for a lifetime. I highlighted physical freedom for a lifetime because, as many of you have heard me say, we're trying to do this when we're 90, or me specifically. A successful life would be if I can still do CrossFit when I'm 90 years old. That means I kind of approached it the right way. So always kind of keep that in the back of my mind when I need to check my ego. Is the 90-year-old me going to thank me for the choices that I'm making now? So that brings me to the Super Wellness Continuum. So this was actually Greg Glassman created this, and I think the first time he presented it was in 2002. So I don't think anyone here was CrossFitting in 2002. It's a really, really long time ago, 22 years ago. And it's still valid to today. So I was digging through like the old journals and old archives, and it's still super valid. So this represents your health on a continuum. Sickness being on one side, with sickness is the presence of, and fitness being over here on the right, which is increased protection over sickness and disease. So think of fitness as your insurance policy. So as many of you guys know, what happened in 2020 for people that were like right here on this side? You guys know? Some of them might have fallen into sickness because they didn't have enough of a savings account on the fitness side to stay well. But for a lot of you guys, or people that I know that were doing CrossFit, if they went 6 months without working out, they might go from here to here. But what has to happen for a person that's in this fitness category to go to sickness? They have to first pass through wellness. So they created a buffer, and the more fitness that you create, the more of a buffer you create, that even if you get sick, or even, so certain sicknesses. So even if you get sick, you would still fall here into the wellness category. And the wellness category is really what we're chasing. So wellness, the absence of sickness and disease, is what we're always chasing. Fitness is cool, and fitness is that savings account, but the real goal is wellness. And that's why in 2002, Greg Glassman called fitness super wellness. So it's just a state of being super well. Anything that does not support wellness, he said, is no longer considered CrossFit, or not considered CrossFit, because wellness is always the goal. Someone's phone? All right. So we can actually plot this, right? We have some health markers that you can get from your doctor. someone whose blood pressure is 160 over 95, they're 40% body fat, and they have low bone density. Where do they fall on this graph? Anyone know? Sickness, right? Let's say someone who has a blood pressure of 105 over 55 and is 10% body fat, that person's probably pretty fit, right? So you can actually take all the metrics, all the health markers, and you can graph it on this continuum. And what's really cool, and what I want to move on to next, I'm going to have Colin help me explain, is how you don't necessarily have to look at these markers in order to graph yourself on this chart. You can actually just look at your CrossFit metrics, and it's pretty much going to tell you a pretty good picture of your health. So we believe that performing CrossFit combined with eating the right foods in the right quantities and resting enough will allow you to stay in this wellness category for a really, really long time. How are we going to measure this? Oh,
like Adam said, our health and fitness are directly connected. When our fitness improves, it's shown through research and studies, and countless CrossFit gyms have proven this, that when our fitness improves, it is nearly impossible to stay in the sickness realm. You cannot perform certain tasks with low bone density, with high body fat percentages, with high cholesterol and high cortisol levels, and it's just impossible, right? So basically we have in this Kickstarter realm, this area where we can show like you're not well, you would be sick, you would be present of certain diseases or sicknesses. As we move up further and further, the purple and the blue categories here are our wellness categories. This is where, as a gym, we are trying to get all our members to. Because if you are performing 12 of these 15 tasks, you are going to be free of sickness, because it's impossible to deadlift 170% of your body weight and run 1 mile at a 720 pace and be present with these diseases, right? That's kind of our goal now as a gym, is we're going to create these benchmarks here, test you guys on a regular basis, keep account of it, keep track of it, and progress you guys through the system very similar to how we would in like a dojo with a belt system.
This is the way we're going to implement this. It starts September 16th, which is not this Monday coming up, but the following Monday. We're going to test all 15 tests, other than a couple tests that are in the red and in the black, like a 10K run. You can test it on your own. Just show me your watch. We're cool if you're going for that. But we'll do all 15 tests within 90 days. So it will be sprinkled into our programming over the next 90 days. We have done a lot of, not a lot, but some of these benchmarks in the past 90 days. We will allow those benchmarks to count towards your first graduation ceremony, which will be at our holiday party in December. After that, there'll be a belt ceremony every 6 months. So every 6 months, the 15 tests will be sprinkled into the programming. We will be training for, like, let's say, the skills and drills, and to get better at this. But if you just regularly come to class, I promise you, and this is our promise to you, that you'll be able to move up in the continuum. So this holds us accountable and you accountable. One, your goal is to get to that blue or purple zone, because that's where wellness is. Our goal is to get you to that blue or purple zone. And if you're coming 5 days a week and you're eating right and you're resting, you should get there. And we should be able to help you get there. And that's our promise to you. That's what we're going to strive to do, and why we're changing everything. I'm very tired of the CrossFit model where we're just beating people into the ground, and it's just very ego driven, and it's just something got lost along the way. This was in 2002, and I think this is the way that it really should be, where we should be striving for optimal health, the things that make us better in the real world, right? So that's the goal. Please log all your scores, because all the data is going to be pulled from SugarWOD, and all tests must be done in a class or on a test day, because we will have specific test days. Now, I wanted to wrap this up with a quote from Greg Glassman in 2002. Fitness is and should be a state of super wellness, which means that a true fitness regimen should not only prevent sickness, but actively promote optimal health. And any exercise program that does not contribute to overall wellness cannot be considered CrossFit. So that just goes back to chasing wellness and the goal of super wellness. 55 and up, it's the requirements per category changes, and it's the same as 17 or younger, except for Joseph, because Joseph can beat me in most workouts. I'm 37, me being fit is okay, right? There's so many people that are so much more fit than me. But if you look at like Super Dave or some of these guys that are 55 plus and they're fit, they being at the level that we're at, they're the 0.0001% of society. So that's the goal, right? To be fit when you're older. When at chronic illnesses. There's going to be some cases that are outside the point, but for the most part, that's what CrossFit has seen. That if you're able to perform these tasks, you should also have the markers to represent it. Cool. And that brings me to another point. So someone asked at the 6 a.m., oh, are you going to include body fat percentage? What they originally thought, and I still believe this to today, is if you can run an 8-minute mile and you can do, let's say 5 chest to bar pull-ups, chances are you have low enough body fat to do that, right? So that's why we don't need to look at these other, if you're able to do these tasks, it's going to take care of all the other metrics. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. You have your benchmarks, your metabolic conditioning, your gymnastics, and your weightlifting. So what we would consider total fitness or well-rounded fitness. And these are the tests for each of the levels. As you go up in the levels, some of the tests change, especially in the elite or exalted categories, the black and the red categories. But for the most part, they're the same type of test.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of you are familiar with Fran, the benchmark, right? 2159 thrusters and pull-ups. A lot of you familiar with a 500-meter row for time, stuff that takes 2 minutes. That was something we kind of discussed early in our conversations with this, that on those days, we're going to spend extra time, because we have a lot of members and there's 30, 40 of you guys here. Those days early on, spending extra time communicating our real purpose behind it again, making sure we have a lot of teaching, communication, warm-up time for that. But on those days where it might just be Fran or a 500-meter row, that might be all we're doing that day. But it's going to be max intensity, pushing the pace when we do it.
But we will have test days. So let's say I haven't fully talked it over yet. Jeff's looking at me like I'm crazy right now. But let's say one Saturday a month where we have multiple tests in one in 1 hour setting. I think that would be a cool way of doing it. Again, this is something that we're still working through, and I want you guys to be patient with us. A year from now, this is probably going to look different, right? This has worked in other places. We had a really awesome conversation. If any of you guys know the Wallstreet Weightlifter, if you guys follow him, he has 4
Strongest
million
dude.
followers or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a 2-hour Zoom with him, and he's had his affiliate for 18 years, and he's a CrossFit Level 3 coach, and he just breathes this stuff. And this actually originated from him. And there's other level systems, but he was the first one to implement this. And it's been at his gym for 18 years, and it's pretty effective. So we're working off of his numbers. We haven't tested it in our community, so things might change. It's depending on what we see and what we find. I spend a lot of time with you guys here, and it was so impactful in my life. And it was so impactful in my life that...
You're gonna have to let that sound on the film.
Yeah.